The summer sun beat down on the small town of Pinewood as the last school bell of the year rang. Children poured from the building, their excited voices filling the warm June air. Freedom had arrived at last. Among the crowd were Madison Clark and her younger brother Noah. Madison was 14, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and eyes that missed nothing. 10-year-old Noah bounced beside her, his backpack hanging off one shoulder as he chatted about summer plans. "We're meeting Ethan at the park, right?" Noah asked, hopping over a crack in the sidewalk. "Yes, for the 100th time," Madison replied, but she smiled as she said it. Her brother's excitement was catching. They found their friend Ethan Miller sitting under the big oak tree, reading a book about space. At 12, Ethan was tall for his age, with sandy hair that fell across his forehead and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. "Last day of school," Ethan said, closing his book. "We made it." The three friends spent the afternoon at the park, planning their summer adventures between games of tag and trips to the ice cream stand. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the grass, they reluctantly decided it was time to head home. "Let's take the path through the woods," Noel suggested. "It's faster." Madison checked her watch. "Mom wants us home for dinner soon." "I guess it's okay." The forest path was cool and dim after the heat of the day. Sunlight filtered through the leaves overhead, creating patterns on the dirt path. The sounds of the town faded behind them, replaced by birdsong and the rustle of small animals in the underbrush. They were halfway through the woods when Ethan stopped walking. "Do you hear that?" he asked, looking up. Madison listened. There was a faint humming sound coming from somewhere above them. It grew louder by the second. "Maybe it's a helicopter," Noah said, but his voice was uncertain. The humming became a deep, vibrating pulse that they could feel in their chests. Then, through a gap in the trees, they saw it, a disk of pulsing light, much too large and much too quiet to be any aircraft they knew. "That's not a helicopter," Ethan whispered, his eyes wide behind his glasses. Madison grabbed Noah's hand. "We should go. Now." But before they could move, a beam of pale blue light shot down from the craft, illuminating the forest path in an eerie glow. The children stood frozen, trapped in its beam like deer in headlights. "I can't move," Ethan said, panic rising in his voice. Madison tried to tighten her grip on Noah's hand, but her fingers wouldn't respond. "Noah, I'm scared, Maddie," came her brother's small voice. The light grew brighter, washing out all color from the world around them. Madison felt her feet lift from the ground. The last thing she saw before everything went white was Noah's terrified face beside her. Madison woke to the sound of crying. Her head throbbed as she opened her eyes. She was lying on a smooth, cold surface that glowed with a faint blue light. The walls around her curved upward to form a dome. This wasn't a room in any building she recognized. "No," she called, sitting up too quickly. The room spun around her. "Madison." Noah's voice came from nearby. She turned to see her brother huddled in a corner, his knees pulled up to his chest. His face was streaked with tears. Ethan was already awake, methodically examining the walls of their prison. When he saw Madison was conscious, he came to sit beside her. "I think we've been abducted," he said quietly. "By aliens." "That's impossible," Madison began, but even as the words left her mouth, she knew they weren't true. The humming craft in the woods, the strange blue light, this room with its curved walls, and no visible door. It was all impossible, yet it was happening. A seam appeared in the wall opposite them. It widened to reveal a corridor beyond, and a figure stepping through that made all three children gasp. The creature was tall and thin, with limbs that bent at odd angles. Its body was covered in something like an iridescent exoskeleton, and its head featured large, compound eyes that reflected their frightened faces back at them. "Greetings, human younglings," it said, the words coming from a small device at what might have been its throat. "I am Junior Commander Zixtol of the Vexorian Science Fleet. You have been selected for a great honor." The three children stared at the alien creature. Noah had stopped crying, too shocked to continue. Ethan's eyes were wide with a mix of fear and fascination. Madison was the first to find her voice. "What do you mean selected? We didn't agree to anything. Take us back home right now," she demanded, stepping in front of her younger brother. Junior Commander Zixtal tilted his head at an odd angle. The movement reminded Madison of the grasshoppers she used to catch in jars as a little girl. "Fascinating response," the alien said, touching something on the device at his throat. "Subject shows protective behavior and immediate resistance. Note for further study." Ethan adjusted his glasses, a habit when he was thinking hard. "You're studying us. Like lab animals." The alien's large compound eyes reflected the blue light of the room. "Not animals, specimens of a lesser-developed species. The Vexorian Science Fleet documents all intelligent life in this sector of the galaxy." "We're not specimens," Madison said firmly. "We're people with families who will be looking for us. You can't just take kids from their planet." Zixtal seemed genuinely confused by her anger. His long, thin fingers tapped at the device again. "Your emotional response is unexpected. This is a great honor. You will help us understand humans." Noah finally spoke up, his small voice trembling. "Will you hurt us?" "Hurt you?" Zixtal's voice through the translator sounded surprised. "No, young human. We will observe, test, and learn. Then return you with compensation." Ethan had been quietly studying the room while the others talked. He noted that although there was no visible door when closed, the scene where Zixtal had entered was still faintly visible if you knew where to look. "How long will these tests take?" Ethan asked carefully. "One full rotation of your planet around its star," Zixtal answered. "A year?" Madison exclaimed. "No way. Our parents will think we're dead." "Time passes differently for your species, I see," Zixtal noted. "Interesting." Another alien appeared in the doorway, slightly smaller than Zixtal, but with the same mantis-like appearance. This one wore something that looked like a coat with many pockets. "Commander, the preliminary scans are complete," the new alien said. "These specimens are in excellent health." "Good work, Scientist Krina," Zixtal replied. "You may proceed with basic observation." Krina approached the children. Unlike Zixtal, she moved slowly, as if trying not to frighten them. She held out a small glowing cube. "This will show us your vital signs. It will not harm you," she explained, her voice softer through the translator. Noah shrank back against the wall. "I don't want to." "It's okay," Krina said. "Perhaps later." Madison noticed the difference in how this alien treated them. There was something almost like concern in her manner. "Where are we going?" Madison asked. "To the Vexorian home system," Zixtal answered. "Our main research facility is there." "How far is that from Earth?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "In your measurements, approximately 40 light years." The three children exchanged looks of horror. Even Ethan, who loved space and knew the most about it, couldn't imagine being that far from home. "Food and rest accommodations have been prepared based on our data of human needs," Krina said. "Please inform me if they are inadequate." A panel in the wall slid open, revealing 3 bed-like platforms and a small table with what looked like food. "I will return later," Zixtal said. "Scientist Krina will attend to your basic needs." After both aliens left, the children huddled together in the center of the room. "What are we going to do?" Noah whispered, tears threatening again. Ethan looked thoughtful. "We need to learn as much as we can about this ship and these aliens. There might be a way to contact Earth or escape." Madison put her arm around her brother. "And we need to stick together. No matter what happens, we stick together, okay?" Noah nodded, wiping his eyes. "Mom and Dad will be looking for us by now," Madison said. "The whole town probably is." She was right. Back in Pinewood, the Clarks had called the police when their children didn't come home for dinner. Officer Pete Miller, Ethan's uncle, had organized search parties that were combing the woods with flashlights. But the search parties wouldn't find anything. The only evidence of what had happened was a small circle of flattened grass and scorched earth where the Vexorian ship had briefly touched down, a clue that wouldn't be discovered until morning light. By then, the ship carrying the three children would be far beyond Earth's atmosphere, accelerating toward the stars. 3 days passed on the Vexorian ship. The children quickly learned that time worked differently here. The lights dimmed for what felt like night and brightened again for day. But the cycles seemed shorter than on Earth. Madison had refused to cooperate with most of the tests the aliens tried to perform. When they asked her to run on a strange treadmill-like device, she sat down and crossed her arms. When they wanted to take hair samples, she tied her hair up and told them no. "You can't just take things from people without asking," she told Zixtal firmly. The alien commander found her behavior puzzling. In his notes, he described her as unusually resistant for a juvenile specimen. Ethan took a different approach. He agreed to simple tests, watching carefully as the aliens worked. He memorized the layout of the rooms they were taken to, counted steps between doorways, and studied the strange symbols on control panels. At night, when they were returned to their holding cell, he would whisper what he had learned to Madison and Noah. "I think I understand some of their writing," he told them on the third night. "The symbols repeat in patterns, and I've been counting how many aliens are on this ship. I've seen 14 different ones so far." Noah, meanwhile, had discovered something interesting by accident. The restraints the aliens used to keep them in place during examinations didn't work well on his small wrists. He could slip his hands out if he tried hard enough. "Look what I can do," he whispered, showing his sister and friend how he could escape the bindings. "That could be useful," Madison said, thinking ahead. "Don't let them see you can do that." The children had also started using slang and code words the aliens couldn't understand. The translation device worked for normal speech, but when they used phrases like "totally bogus" or "that's sick," the aliens became confused. "Did you observe the main deck today?" Ethan asked Madison during their evening meal of strange but not unpleasant food. "Yeah, it was Major Sauce," Madison replied, which meant she had seen something important. The aliens monitoring their conversations through hidden sensors couldn't make sense of these exchanges. "Their language patterns are becoming erratic," Zixtal noted with concern. "Perhaps their brains are being affected by space travel." Scientist Krina had been watching the children closely. Unlike her commander, she suspected they were communicating in code. She had also noticed how they looked out for each other. When Noah had trouble sleeping, Madison would sing to him. When Madison grew frustrated during tests, Ethan would catch her eye and make a funny face to calm her down. These bonds between the young humans fascinated Krina. Vexorians laid eggs in communal hatcheries, and young were raised by designated caretakers, not their biological parents. The concept of family, of siblings, was foreign and intriguing to her. One day, while Madison was refusing yet another test, Krina approached her privately. "The tests are not meant to harm," she said quietly, "but I see they upset you." Madison looked at the alien scientist with surprise. "Wouldn't you be upset if someone took you from your home without asking?" Krina's large eyes blinked slowly. "I had not considered it that way." That evening, the children found their meal had been changed. Instead of the usual bland nutrition cubes, there were things that looked almost like hamburgers, and something similar to French fries. "This is actually pretty good," Noah said, eating happily. A note written in careful English had been left with the food. "Synthesized from Earth database. Hope it is correct. K." Madison realized Krina was trying to make them more comfortable. "Maybe not all of them are bad," she whispered to the others. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "We might be able to use that." Back on Earth, the search for the missing children had expanded. Officer Miller had found strange burn marks in the forest and called in experts from the nearby city. Frank Rodriguez, an old man who lived at the edge of the woods, kept insisting he had seen lights in the sky that night, but no one was listening to him yet. The parents of the missing children held a candlelight vigil in the town square. News vans from the city had arrived. Pictures of Madison, Noah, and Ethan were shown on television screens across the state. No one on Earth imagined that the three children were now farther away than any human had ever traveled, looking out a small viewing port at the stars rushing by, planning their escape. "Today is the day," Ethan whispered as the lights in their cell brightened to indicate morning. After a week on the Vexorian ship, the children had learned the routines and schedules of their captors. They knew when shift changes happened and which aliens were more careful than others. Madison nodded, her face serious. "Are you sure you remember the way to the communication room?" "Positive," Ethan said. "Two lefts after leaving the medical lab, then a right at the junction with the blue lighting. And I can fit through the air vent near the second doorway," Noah added. He had been practicing squeezing through tight spaces in their cell when the aliens weren't watching. Their plan was simple but risky. Madison would pretend to be very sick during her morning examination. When the aliens were focused on her, Noah would slip away through a ventilation shaft they had discovered. Ethan would use the distraction to access a computer terminal and try to send some kind of message to Earth. "Remember," Madison told them, "even if we don't make it all the way out, we'll learn more about the ship for next time." When scientist Krina came to bring them to the lab, Madison put their plan into action. She clutched her stomach and fell to the floor, moaning loudly. "Something's wrong with Madison," Noah cried, actually scared by how real his sister's performance looked. Krina rushed to Madison's side, calling for medical assistance on her communication device. Two more aliens hurried into the room with strange equipment. While they were checking Madison's vital signs, Noah caught Ethan's eye and then slipped behind the open door. No one noticed as he squeezed into a small vent near the floor. "Her body temperature is elevated," one alien said. "Possible infection." "Take her to the main medical bay," Krina ordered. As they lifted Madison onto a floating stretcher, Ethan managed to step near a control panel. His fingers quickly pressed a sequence of symbols he had memorized from watching the aliens. The panel flickered, giving him access. Madison continued her act as they rushed her down the corridor. She thrashed and cried out, keeping all attention on her. When they passed the junction with blue lighting, she caught a glimpse of Noah's small figure darting around the corner ahead. Inside the ventilation system, Noah crawled as quietly as he could. The metal was smooth and cool under his hands. He followed the route Ethan had described, counting the turns. When he reached what should be the right spot, he peered through a grate into a room filled with glowing screens and control panels. This wasn't the communication room. It was the engine room. Noah had taken a wrong turn. Ethan, meanwhile, was trying to make sense of the alien computer system. The symbols rearranged themselves as he touched them, almost as if the computer was trying to understand him. He managed to pull up what looked like a map of the ship before an alarm suddenly blared. "Security breach detected," a voice announced in the Vexorian language, which the children had started to recognize. In the medical bay, Madison knew their plan had hit a problem. She sat up on the stretcher, abandoning her act. Krina looked at her with what might have been disappointment. "You were not really ill," the alien scientist said. "No," Madison admitted. "But can you blame us for trying to find a way home?" Before Krina could answer, Junior Commander Zixtol burst into the room. "The small one has escaped containment," he said urgently, "and the male juvenile has accessed a secure terminal." Security aliens spread throughout the ship, searching for Noah. They found him trying to hide behind a large pipe in the engine room. Despite Noah's attempt to run, they caught him easily. Ethan was discovered still at the terminal, trying desperately to send a message with the alien technology he barely understood. The children were brought back to their cell, where Zixtol confronted them. "This behavior is dangerous and unacceptable," he said, his translator making his voice sound harsher than usual. "You could have damaged vital systems or hurt yourselves. We just want to go home," Madison said firmly. Zixtol studied the three young humans with his large, reflective eyes. "Impressive resourcefulness," he noted, almost to himself. "Perhaps we have underestimated your species." After the commander left, Krina lingered at the doorway. "That was brave," she said quietly. "Foolish, but brave." As the door sealed shut, Madison turned to her brother and friend with a determined smile. "We'll try again," she said. "And next time, we'll do better." Frank Rodriguez sat on his porch, watching the police and search teams comb the forest yet again. It had been 10 days since the children disappeared. The old man sipped his coffee and frowned. No one was listening to him. Frank had seen things in his 70 years that most people wouldn't believe. He'd served in the Air Force when he was young and had spotted objects in the sky that didn't match any known aircraft. That night when the kids went missing, he had seen the strange lights hovering over the forest and had even managed to record a short video on his old phone. "Mr. Rodriguez," a voice called. Frank looked up to see a woman in a dark suit walking toward his house. She wasn't from the local police. "Who's asking?" Frank replied, setting down his mug. "Laura Bennett, Department of Special Research," she said, showing him a badge. "May I ask you some questions about what you saw the night those children disappeared?" For the first time since this ordeal began, Frank felt someone might actually listen. "It was about 7 in the evening," he began, pulling out his phone. "I saw lights where no lights should be." Laura watched the grainy video Frank had captured. Despite its poor quality, it clearly showed an unusual craft hovering above the trees, emitting a blue light. "I need to make a call," she said quietly. 3 hours later, Frank's small house was filled with serious-looking people setting up equipment. Laura explained very little, only that his information was being taken seriously at the highest levels. What Laura couldn't tell Frank was that her Department of Special Research was actually a secret government agency monitoring extraterrestrial activity. They had been tracking the Vexorian ship since it entered Earth's atmosphere, but had lost it when it left. Frank's video provided the missing link they needed. In a secure underground facility 300 miles away, Captain Olivia Ward studied the data from Frank's video combined with their satellite tracking. "We can determine their trajectory," she told the team gathered around her. "They're headed toward the Vega system." Olivia had personal reasons for wanting this mission. 10 years ago, her younger sister had vanished without a trace while camping. The official report said she was lost in the wilderness, but Olivia had seen strange lights that night too. No one had believed her then. "How soon can the Defiance be ready?" she asked her second-in-command. 48 hours, Captain," he replied. "But this is unprecedented. We've never attempted to track an alien vessel beyond our solar system." "Those are children up there," Olivia said firmly. "We're going after them." The Defiance was humanity's secret, a spacecraft built using technology reverse-engineered from previous alien encounters. It had never been tested beyond the moon, but now it would need to travel farther than any human had gone before. Meanwhile, on the Vexorian ship, the children were now under stricter supervision. After their escape attempt, Zixtal had ordered additional guards and monitoring devices in their cell. But strangely, their daily routines had improved. The food was better, the beds more comfortable, and they were allowed to stay together during most tests. "They're trying to keep us happy so we won't try to escape again," Madison observed. Ethan nodded. "But they're also studying our reactions more carefully now. Did you notice how they record everything we say to each other?" Noah had been quieter since their failed escape. He missed home more than he would admit to his sister. At night, he would look out the small viewport in their cell, trying to spot Earth among the countless stars, though he knew it was impossible. Scientist Krina had been assigned as their primary handler. She seemed genuinely interested in learning about Earth and human culture. During one session, she asked the children about their families. "Do your parental units miss you greatly?" she asked. "They're probably going crazy looking for us," Madison said. "On Earth, when children go missing, everyone helps search for them." Krina's posture changed subtly. "Everyone. Even those not genetically related." "Of course," Ethan explained. "Humans are very protective of children, especially when they're in danger." "Interesting," Krina said, making notes on her device. "This protective instinct extends beyond family units." Later that day, Krina approached Commander Zixtal with her concerns. Commander, my research suggests that removing juvenile humans may have more serious consequences than we anticipated. Their species has strong protective instincts toward young ones. Zixtal dismissed her worries. All species protect their offspring to some degree. The humans have no way of knowing where their juveniles are or how to reach them. Krina wasn't convinced. As she walked away, she didn't notice the small monitoring device Noah had managed to slip into the pocket of her coat during their session. That night, the three children huddled together in their cell, listening to the small device Noah had taken from the aliens. It looked like a smooth pebble, but it picked up sounds from wherever Krina went. Through it, they heard conversations between the Vexorians that their translators converted to English. 2 more cycles until we reached the home system, came Zixtal's voice through the device. The specimens continue to show remarkable adaptability, Krina replied. Especially the female. Her protective behavior toward the younger one exceeds our prediction models. Madison smiled at this. Of course she protected Noah. He was her brother. Commander, Krina continued, I've been reviewing Earth transmissions we collected. Humans have strong social bonds with their young. There are global systems dedicated to finding missing children. Your concern is noted, Scientist Krina, but irrelevant. The humans have no space travel capability that could possibly reach us. The children exchanged glances. The aliens were wrong about that. Earth did have spaceships, even if they couldn't travel as fast or as far as the alien vessel. 2 days later, Noah woke up feeling sick. His face was pale, and he didn't want to eat. Madison felt his forehead and found it hot with fever. He needs medicine, she told the aliens when they came for their morning tests. He's sick. Krina scanned Noah with a handheld device. His body is exhibiting stress responses, possible immune system reaction to our environment. Madison sat beside her brother on his bed. It's more than that. He's homesick. He misses our parents and our home. Krina seemed confused. Homesickness. This is a physical illness caused by separation. Sort of, Ethan explained. Humans can get physically sick when they're very sad or stressed. Noah is the youngest, so it's hitting him hardest. Krina reported Noah's condition to Commander Zixtal, who ordered a complete medical examination. When the aliens tried to separate him from Madison for the tests, Noah began to cry. I want to stay with my sister, he sobbed. I'm going with him, Madison insisted. He needs me. Zixtal started to refuse, but Krina interrupted. Commander, my research suggests that separation may worsen his condition. The emotional bond appears to have physical effects. Reluctantly, Zixtal agreed. Madison held Noah's hand throughout the examination, whispering encouragement as the alien scanned and prodded him. You're the bravest kid I know, she told her brother. Mom and Dad would be so proud. After the exam, Krina prescribed what looked like medicine and recommended that Noah rest. The 3 children were returned to their cell without any further tests that day. As Noah slept, Madison and Ethan talked quietly. We need to speak directly to whoever's in charge, Madison said. Not just Zixtal, but their leaders. How? They barely listen to us now, Ethan replied. Madison thought for a moment. We stopped cooperating completely. All of us. No tests, no food, nothing until they let us talk to someone with real authority. The next morning, when Krina came to their cell, all 3 children sat cross-legged on the floor, refusing to move. We want to speak to your highest commander, Madison announced. That is not possible, Krina said. Commander Zixtal is the authority on this vessel. Then we're not doing any more tests, Ethan said firmly. No more samples, no more scans. And we won't eat either, Madison added, though her stomach growled in protest. Krina's large eyes blinked rapidly. Refusing nutrition will damage your bodies. This is not logical. Humans do illogical things when they're desperate, Madison explained. Tell Zixtal we want to talk, or you'll have 3 very sick human kids on your hands. Krina left in what seemed like confusion. Hours passed. The children grew hungry, but they stuck to their plan. Even Noah, feeling slightly better, refused the food that was brought to their cell. By the second day of their hunger strike, Zixtal himself appeared at their door. "This behavior is harmful to our research and to yourselves," he said sternly. Madison stood up, feeling slightly dizzy from hunger but determined. "We want to tell you something important about humans, something you don't understand. But we'll only tell it to whoever has the real power here." Zixtal studied the three children for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "Very well. You will address the High Command directly." The Defiance moved silently through space, its engines emitting no visible light. Captain Olivia Ward stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by on the main screen. The ship was using technology that humans had no business possessing yet, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems functioning at optimal levels, Captain," her second-in-command replied. "We're maintaining pursuit course of the alien vessel. Current distance, approximately 2 million miles and closing." Olivia nodded. They had been tracking the Vexorian ship for 5 days now, pushing their experimental craft to its limits. The crew of 30 was a mix of military personnel and civilian scientists, all sworn to secrecy about the mission and the very existence of the Defiance. "How long until we're within communication range?" she asked. "At current speeds, 18 hours, came the reply. Olivia's hand went to the small photo she kept in her pocket, her sister, smiling and young, before she disappeared. "Hold on, kids," she whispered. "We're coming." Meanwhile, on the Vexorian ship, the children had been brought to the main command center. After ending their hunger strike, they had been given food and allowed to clean up before their important meeting. Madison had insisted they all look as neat as possible. "We're representing Earth," she told the boys. "We need to make a good impression." The command center was much larger than they had imagined. Screens covered the walls, showing stars, planets, and data streams. In the center was a large circular platform, where several senior Vexorians stood waiting. Commander Zixtal and Scientist Krina accompanied the children. "High Command, these are the human specimens who requested this audience," Zixtal announced, sounding slightly embarrassed by the whole situation. A tall Vexorian with elaborately decorated armor stepped forward. "I am Grand Commander Vexicor. You may speak, young humans." Madison took a deep breath and stepped onto the platform. She had practiced what she wanted to say, with help from Ethan and Noah. "Thank you for seeing us," she began. "We want to tell you something important about humans that you don't seem to understand. On our planet, there is nothing more serious than taking someone's children. Nothing." The Grand Commander's head tilted in the Vexorian gesture of curiosity. "Throughout human history," Madison continued, "we have fought wars, crossed oceans, and risked everything to protect our young. Parents will die for their children without hesitation. But it's not just parents. Our entire species is wired to protect kids. When a child goes missing on Earth, strangers will search for days. People who have never met the child will lose sleep worrying about them." Ethan stepped forward next. "Your scientists think you're studying us," he said, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "But by taking us, you've actually started something much bigger. Our people won't stop looking for us. Ever." Noah joined them, looking small but brave. "My mom once punched a big dog that tried to bite me," he said simply. "Humans get really scary when kids are in danger." The High Command members exchanged glances, their compound eyes reflecting the starlight from the screens. "These are interesting cultural observations," Grand Commander Vexicor said, "but your species lacks the technology to pursue us across interstellar space. Your concern is noted, but ultimately irrelevant to our research mission." Just as he finished speaking, an alarm sounded throughout the command center. One of the Vexorian operators looked up in shock. "Unknown vessel detected, approaching at high velocity. It appears to be of Earth origin." The children couldn't help but smile. Madison looked directly at the Grand Commander. You see, they found us, just like we said they would. On the main screen, a sleek spacecraft appeared, its design unlike anything the Vexorians had seen from Earth before. It was smaller than their own vessel, but moving with purpose and precision. Impossible. Commander Zixtal whispered. Their species doesn't have this capability. Seems like you underestimated humans, Ethan said quietly. The Grand Commander turned to Zixtal. You assured me the humans had no interstellar travel technology. All our data indicated. Zixtal began, but was cut off. They're attempting to communicate, announced one of the operators. On the screen, words appeared in both English and surprisingly accurate Vexorian script. Vexorian vessel. This is Captain Olivia Ward of the Earth Ship Defiance. You have taken our children. Return them immediately. This is not a request. Madison looked at Noah and Ethan, hope rising in her chest for the first time in weeks. Earth had found them. They weren't alone anymore. Silence filled the Vexorian command center as everyone stared at the message from the Earth ship. Grand Commander Vexcor turned to face the three children. Your species has hidden capabilities, he said, his voice somewhere between impressed and concerned. We tried to tell you, Madison replied. Humans go to extreme lengths to protect children. The Grand Commander activated the communication system. Earth vessel, this is Grand Commander Vexicor of the Vexorian Science Fleet. We have your juveniles for important research purposes. We can discuss compensation. Captain Olivia Ward's face appeared on the screen. Cutting him off. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were fierce. You captured human kids, she said, shaking her head slowly. Oh, sweet summer alien, you have no idea what you've done. The children could barely contain their excitement at seeing the human face again. Allow me to explain our situation clearly, Captain Ward continued. In human culture, there is no greater crime than harming or taking children. There is no greater motivation than protecting them. The captain's image was replaced by a map of nearby space. Red dots appeared all around the Vexorian ship and near several Vexorian outposts. These are Earth vessels currently surrounding your positions throughout this sector, she explained as her face reappeared. We've been aware of your species and others for decades. We've been building our defenses quietly. The children exchanged surprised glances. This was news to them too. The abduction of our children has forced our hand, Captain Ward said. Return them immediately, unharmed, and we can begin proper diplomatic relations. Refuse, and you will see exactly how protective humans are of their young. Commander Zixtal leaned toward the Grand Commander. Sir, our long-range scans cannot confirm these other vessels. She could be bluffing. Krina stepped forward, something she would normally never dare to do in front of the High Command. Sir, my research strongly suggests she is not. Human protection of juveniles is their most fundamental social drive. They would commit their entire civilization to recovering these three children. Grand Commander Vexcor was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at the children. Is this true? He asked. Would your whole species go to war over three juveniles? Without hesitation, Ethan said. Every time, Madison added. Noah nodded. My dad says no one gets left behind. Especially kids. The Grand Commander made his decision. Captain Ward, we will return the human juveniles to your custody. I propose a neutral meeting point. Within hours, the details were arranged. The children gathered their few belongings, including the small monitoring device Noah had taken. Krina came to escort them to the shuttle bay. I have learned much from you, she told them. Perhaps more than all our instruments could have shown us. Will you be in trouble? Madison asked, genuinely concerned for the scientist who had shown them kindness. My research findings will be valuable to my people, Krina replied. Understanding humans better may prevent future misunderstandings. At the shuttle bay, Commander Zixtal was waiting. He seemed uncomfortable as he addressed the children. The High Command has authorized me to present you with a formal apology, he said stiffly. We did not understand your species' customs regarding juveniles. Next time, just ask, Ethan suggested. Most humans would be happy to tell you about ourselves. We're curious about space and other worlds. But remember this, Madison added firmly. We protect our own, especially our children. Always. The journey to the meeting point took only a short time. As their shuttle approached the Defiance, the children pressed against the viewports, eager for their first glimpse of the Earth ship. When the airlock opened, Captain Ward was waiting. Though they had never met her before, the three children rushed forward into the arms of the first human they had seen in weeks. "You're safe now," Captain Ward said, her professional composure briefly cracking with emotion. "You're going home." 3 months later, life in Pinewood had returned to something like normal. The children were back with their families, though they were forever changed by their experience. Ethan decided he wanted to study space science when he grew up. Madison became interested in law, thinking about how Earth might establish rules for dealing with other worlds. Noah processed his experience through drawing, creating detailed pictures of the Vexorian ship and its crew. And sometimes, on clear nights, the three friends would meet at the park and look up at the stars, wondering what lessons the Vexorians had learned from their encounter with human children, and the humans who had crossed the stars to bring them home.